Welcome to the SDGs in Brazil 2022. This event was created to discuss the advancement of the Sustainable Development Goals through business initiatives and other topics concerning the Agenda 2030, such as climate, weather, gender equality, racial equality, living wages, mental health, and anti-corruption. So with that, let's start with those leaders who are coming up with solutions for the present with an eye on sustainable future. We now like to welcome Raj Sisodia, founder of Conscious Capitalism.
Good morning. I'm always happy to be at Brazilian events. I was just in Sao Paulo a few weeks ago, and conscious capitalism has taken root in Brazil more than just about anywhere else in the world. We have 11 chapters spread all over the country, thousands of leaders who have gone through this, hundreds of companies that have signed on. So we're very much fellow travelers with SDG, with the UN, and with all the other business initiatives that are going on. As I think about the role of business in the world, I'm reminded of a line from Homer Simpson. Do you all know Homer Simpson? He's a global icon now, right? And he said, alcohol is the cause and the solution of most of the world's problems. And I think we can say that about business as well. But actually, the way we do business is the cause and the solution to, I believe, all of the world's problems, really significant share of those problems. So if you think about what capitalism has done for humanity, I think we have to start there, because capitalism has been one of the most significant advances and one of the most powerful ideas that humanity has ever had. So if you just look at the last 200 years, what capitalism has done for ordinary people, raising living standards, per capita incomes have gone up from about $600 to close to $18,000 in terms of purchasing power. So 30 times. Life expectancy has gone from 28 to about 73 worldwide. Literacy has gone from 14 to 86% or so. And the percentage of people living in extreme poverty is down from 90% in the year 1800 to about below 9% or so now. So we've made a tremendous amount of progress because of the embrace of these ideas, free markets and free people lifting each other up through the power of innovation and creating enterprises. So we need to celebrate capitalism, but we also need to elevate it, because we recognize that we've been operating with a lower level of consciousness. And for a long time, that consciousness has been rooted at the level of the material. It's all about profits, it's all about shareholders, it's all about generating wealth. And everything, including people, including the planet, including other life, are all a means to that end of profit. And that has to change. We can no longer continue operating with that paradigm. We kind of need our own Copernican revolution. Remember, before Copernicus, we thought that the universe, the sun, the moon, the planets, everything revolved around the earth. And in a way, we've kind of put profit at the center of the universe when it comes to business. We need to change that. We need to put life at the center. And life includes people, it includes the planet, it includes all the other life forms that share this planet with us. And everything, including profit, has to ultimately serve life. And I think that's something that we have lost sight of to a degree. So if we look at the times that we're living in today, I'm reminded of Charles Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. There's never been a better time to be born a human being. There certainly has never been a better time to be born a female human being than the present compared to history. We are living in a time of relative peace and prosperity, which is far beyond what we have experienced as human beings. Our chances for living a long, meaningful, fulfilling, purposeful life are greater than ever today. And at the same time, we have never faced the kinds of existential threats that we face, whether it's climate change or species extinction and all the other things that we are facing. So in that sense, it is the best of times, worst of times. Which direction we take depends a great deal on what we do with this central human activity of business. If we adopt a new way of doing business, then actually we will take the high road and we will create flourishing way beyond what we've ever experienced. If we continue business as usual, we will destroy our own future and the future of many other life forms on this planet. Because if you just look at the last 100 years, what we have done, I think all of you know the data better than I do, right? What's happened to the natural forests? 80% are gone, 30% of arable land no longer usable. 90% of large mammals have disappeared in just 1 century. This planet has been around 4.5 billion years. But here's what we human beings have managed to do in 100 years. 95% of the large fish are gone. The only animals that are increasing in number are factory farmed animals. And we're killing 10 billion of them every year after torturing them for as long as they live, right? So there's a huge amount of pain and suffering that exists in the world. We're living through the 5th mass extinction. The toxic burden on human bodies is rising. You see obesity, diabetes, cancer is skyrocketing. 50% of Americans alive today can expect to get cancer in their lifetime. A disease that was quite rare. Autoimmune disorders are skyrocketing. There's all kinds of things happening because of the way in which we have been living. And of course, pollution kills 9 million people a year. So all of this is creating a future that is scary. 75% of young people are afraid of the future. It's not just young. A lot of people are now saying, my God, what are we doing, right? And by the way, 50% of young people do not plan to have children. Think about what's that going to do to our population in the decades to come. So there's a real dire situation at some level. We have to change. There's a sense of urgency. And I believe there's a great need for healing. We need to heal at every level. We need to heal ourselves, our bodies, our families, our communities, our countries. Many countries have never been more divided than they are today, politically. We certainly need to heal our planet and its ability to sustain life, and we need to heal our businesses and the way we operate. Because the fact is that the way we operate in business is causing a lot of suffering. Yeah, it's generating material wealth and creating jobs and all of that. But if you look at the simple reality that heart attacks are 20% higher on Mondays, think about that. 4 a.m. Monday morning is the peak of heart attacks. These are 2 studies in the US and in the UK. That 120,000 Americans die every year from stress connected to work. That 600,000 Chinese die every year from overwork. This is the way we're running our businesses. The way we work isn't working. And as James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And I think that's why we're all here. We're all facing up to this somewhat grim reality that these have been the consequences of the way we have acted. Every system is perfectly designed to give us the results that we're getting. And these are the results we're getting, and they're not acceptable, and we're seeing that. So we have to change the way we operate. And we have to adopt, I believe, this healing mindset. Business can be and should be a force for healing in the world. It's about reducing suffering. It's about bringing more joy. It's about promoting healthy growth. And all of those things are possible with business if we do it with the right mindset. And that's really what ultimately this is about. And so conscious capitalism exists fundamentally to answer these questions, the fundamental questions of why, what, who, and how of business, which we haven't questioned for a very long time. We need new answers. Why? Why does a business exist? You ask anybody on the street and they'll say, to make money. No. Businesses have to exist in order to achieve a purpose, and that purpose has to be rooted in solving real problems that exist, to find profitable solutions to the problems of the people and the planet. And they have to be profitable so that it becomes a viable business. If they're not profitable, that means it still is important, but it has to be done by the nonprofit or the government sector. Right? So we have to have a higher purpose, just like everybody in this room, I believe, I'm sure, has a higher purpose. You're not just here to make as much money as possible and die. Well, first you go to Florida and then you die, right? But that's not what life is about. And if you saw what happened with Patagonia and Yvonne Chouinard a few days ago, that kind of showed the higher consciousness. Right? Please do applaud. Yes, I think that is. He kind of came out of that mentality that exists in the world today, that more and more accumulation is all what we're all about. I saw an interesting illustration of a cover of Forbes magazine, and they have a chimpanzee holding a bunch of bananas. And it said, if we found a chimpanzee that actually took all the bananas and just hoarded them away, millions of them, way more than he can eat in his entire lifetime, we would say there's something mentally ill with that chimpanzee. But he said, if humans do it, we put them on the cover of Forbes magazine, and we say the 400 richest humans in the world, right? There's something not quite healthy about that mindset, right? We are afflicted with what's called affluenza. It's affluence and influenza, right? It's kind of a sickness, more and more and more. Nothing is ever enough. We have to break out of that. So why, what, who, and how? Higher purpose, not just profit. What is, and every business can find its own unique, heroic, noble, evolving, loving, higher purpose in the world. What we're trying to do that's going to make a difference in people's lives. The second is what? It's not just about creating wealth for the owners. It's about creating value for all stakeholders, for society, for suppliers, for investors, for customers, for employees, for their families, for communities, simultaneously looking to create value of multiple kinds for all of our stakeholders, right? As opposed to just making money for owners. The third is who? Who are we as leaders? What does it mean to be a leader? You know, in the past, it's just who can deliver the numbers, who can deliver the share price, etc. Those are the people who got promoted and hired. Do you know that the incidence of sociopaths in the general population is less than 1%? It's 20% in high security prisons, and it's also 20% in executive boardrooms. We have created a system that has systematically selected and developed and elevated people who have a somewhat sociopathic mindset. It's all about just that one thing, right? Profit for the company, wealth for myself. And I just came across a study 3 years ago that when people get wealthier, they actually lose their empathy. They lose the ability to be empathetic. It's not just a correlation, it's a causation in that study. Think about that, right? And not everybody. Certainly Yvon Chouinard did not lose his empathy. And I know both kinds of rich people, okay? I know those who don't have any empathy and those who have plenty of empathy. So again, we have to think about leaders who are there to take people to a better place. Leaders who are servant leaders, who are selfless. So for each of these tenets of conscious capitalism, I have an acronym. For purpose, it's healing. A great purpose, as I said, reduces suffering, elevates joy, promotes healthy growth, but it also stands for the qualities. It's heroic, it's evolving, it's aligning, it's inspiring, it's loving, it's natural, it's galvanizing. For stakeholders, it's spicy. Why spicy? Because I come from India. What is life without spice, right? But it stands for society, partners, investors, customers, employees, and the environment. And for leaders, it is selfless. You have to be, if you're a selfish human being, and you cannot call yourself a leader because that means you're going to use all the people you lead in order to achieve your personal goals. That is the definition of a tyrant. That is not a leader. A true leader is here to take people to a better place. Simon Sinek has a wonderful book called Leaders Eat Last. And that's a great metaphor. It comes from the US military. When it's time to eat, you line up in reverse order of seniority. And the most junior person gets taken care of first, and the commanding general gets taken care of last. That's how it should be in every realm of leadership. So selfless stands for strength. You have to be strong. You have to have personal power. You have to have a moral courage to be a leader. You have to have energy and enthusiasm. You have to be rooted in love. Strength without love is tyranny. Love without strength is ineffective. We need both. We had many strong leaders in the world in the last century. They almost destroyed human civilization. Hitler, Stalin, Mao. We have some of those in the world today. But the leaders who changed the world for the better, Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Lincoln, they combined tremendous strength and moral courage with tremendous love. And that is what moves us forward. And we need that in business, and we need that in politics and everywhere. And then we need emotional intelligence, systems intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. So those are the elements of conscious leadership. And then the fourth is culture. And the word there is tactile. You know, you can feel a culture of a caring, conscious business. You go into a Patagonia or Whole Foods Container Store, REI, Wegmans, Southwest Airlines. You can feel the energy and the positive vibe. Most cultures are filled with fear and stress. I mentioned the heart attacks, right? That's why we have an institution called Thank God It's Friday, because we can't wait for our time outside of work, right? But in conscious companies, people are energized and enthusiastic about going to work. And the employee engagement worldwide is 20%, according to Gallup. In conscious companies, it's 95% passionate commitment. So it makes a tremendous difference. So when you put these four things together, a higher purpose, a stakeholder mindset, caring and conscious leaders, and a caring culture, the results are extraordinary. that these companies, and I wrote a book called Firms of Endearment that had 28 such companies in it. That's how we discovered these principles. And I was shocked when we did the financial analysis at the end, and we were expecting that these companies are paying their people much better. The front line, like Costco, was paying double of Walmart and providing almost 100% healthcare coverage for all their employees. They're investing in their customer experience. They're paying their suppliers well. Their suppliers are profitable. They're investing in their communities. They're investing in the environment. They're paying taxes at a much higher rate. And I said, maybe there's less money left over at the end of the day for investors. And what we actually found was that these companies outperformed the market by a 9-to-1 ratio over a 10-year period. Even though they are not trying to maximize profit, they're trying to achieve their purpose and have a positive impact on all the people whose lives they touch, and yet they're having a dramatically higher impact in terms of profit and shareholder value. And that's an important point. Profits are essential. I say that it is socially irresponsible not to be profitable if you're a business. Because society cannot function without corporate profits, free market societies, right? Governments don't actually create wealth. Governments can only tax and spend the wealth generated in the private sector. So profits are essential for the functioning of a free society, but it matters how you make the money. Because you can make the money by squeezing your employees and damaging their health, and damaging the health of your customers by selling them junk, and then destroying the communities and squeezing your suppliers and polluting the environment. That's not worth anything. That's not a business. That's a parasite. You're sucking value out of people and the planet and stealing the future. A true business actually creates value for everybody at the same time. And not just financial. It's intellectual capital. It's emotional well-being. It's spiritual well-being, having meaning and purpose through my work. It's societal well-being, right? Having trust and cohesion in society. It's the impact on our bodies, and it's the impact on the environment. These are 8 kinds of wealth, and a conscious business creates a positive impact in all these areas for all their stakeholders. And a traditional business says we're all about maximizing profit and everything else is an externality, and we're not supposed to worry about that, and that doesn't really matter. It's a side effect. Well, the fact is there's no such thing on this planet called a side effect. We do things and there are effects. And just because you call it a side effect and say it very fast, or you put it in fine print, doesn't make it less important. So we have to do business with a spectrum of positive effects across all of those dimensions. And it is possible because it exists. We know it exists. It can be done. It takes intentionality and it takes creativity. And there's no limit to human creativity. That's one thing we've discovered. Humans can come up with solutions to virtually anything if we really put our minds and hearts, and if we are really engaged at a deep purpose level, we can actually, we are divine beings in that sense. We can create extraordinary outcomes. So after about 18 years of this work, the more we study it, the more we realize this really works, and it works for everybody, and that's very important. It's a way of doing business where everybody matters and everybody wins. And I think that if somebody is losing in our system, that means we haven't really arrived at the right way to do things. We have to figure out why that is happening, and we can change that. So, I'd like to leave you with some words from Lynn Twist, who started the Pachamama Alliance, wrote a wonderful book called The Soul of Money. And as she says, those of us who are alive today can choose to lead the most meaningful lives human beings have ever led on this planet. Think about that. Our challenges are greater than ever. There are more of us than ever, 7.5 billion heading to maybe 9 billion. But our ability to do something about those problems is also greater than ever. We are more educated, we are more caring, we are more conscious, and we are more integrated. One of the big themes of conscious capitalism is the integration of the masculine and the feminine. Right? We've had a history as human beings of every institution for millennia being run by men on a limited set of masculine values. This is the century when it's the rise of not only rise of women, but also the rise of the feminine, which means men and women have to lead with an integration of both of those things together. And we are really seeing a lot of that. In fact, I'm coming to Brazil to speak to 300 women leaders in Porto Alegre next March, and there are these kinds of initiatives happening everywhere. So again, I'm really delighted to be here to support all the activities going on in Brazil. And I wish you all a wonderful day and much progress ahead. Thank you very much.